Hello class, and welcome to our next video lesson. Today should be a fairly short lesson. Today we are going to be going over section 1.5, and the title of this section is Measuring in the Metric Units. You can find it on page 26. Let's go ahead and get started. Some of you might remember what metric units are, but if you don't worry, we're going to go over them. All right, now hopefully you remember at least this much, metric units. But we have three different types. We have meters, that refers to length, liters, which refers to capacity, like how much does a cup or a bottle hold, like a 2-liter bottle. It holds 2 liters of liquid. Grams refers to mass. Another way to say mass is talking about weight, like you might weigh something in grams, like in America, we weigh things in pounds. And meters is length, kind of like how we measure stuff in feet and inches. They use meters. So that's how that works. Kind of a reminder of some of these things is this. This is a layout of how the metric system works. You have the center here, U, which the U stands for units. And this changes depending on which unit you're using. You could be using meters, you could be using liters, and you could be using grams. Now, something to know is that meters and grams are written with a lowercase letter, while liters is written with a uppercase L. And just to move along this list is the rest of the measurements in this system. If you look here, if you were going to talk about meters, you would put an M at the end of each of these. If you were talking about liters, an L, and grams, you'd put a G at the end of each of these. It would help you to write this down. And once again, there is not really a rhyme, but just a sentence, one of those cute little phrases that we use to help people remember the order that these things go in. And the order is King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. And that helps some students remember the order that this is written in. And if you're wondering what these letters all stand for, where here you have kilo, like we talk about kilometers or kilograms. Here you have hecto, which you talk about hectometers, which really isn't used all that much. Here we have decameters. Once again, something that's not used all that much, but it can be used. And here we have the term deci, another one that's not used too much, but it is important to know, deci. And then you have centa, or centi, which you would say, if you were talking about meters, you would say centimeters. And then milli, or if we were talking about meters, we would say millimeters. Okay? Now I will say this, that centa, milli, and kilo, those ones are used quite often, depending on if you're talking about meters, liters, or grams, but we'll look at that more later. All right, now let's take a look at what the work might involve in this section. You're going to be told to choose a reasonable estimate. And you're going to be given an everyday object, and you're going to be told, and you're also going to be given a list of measurements, and you're going to be told, okay, well, what is a reasonable estimate? Now, something that might help you is that there is a green chart. There is a green chart on page 26. So there's a green chart on page 26 that goes over these different types of measurements and gives other examples to what they compare to. So you can turn to this chart if you ever need to when you're doing work. And it's a good resource to use. But let's take a look at the first example. So example 1A, the mass of a pencil. Now remember, mass is referring to weight. So we're asking, so what's the weight of a pencil? Is it 10 kilograms? Is it 10 grams? Is it 10 milligrams? Well, how much is a gram? Well, in case you're wondering, 1 gram is about the weight of 1 paper clip, okay? And 1 kilogram is about the weight of a bunch of bananas. And 1 milligram is the weight of about a mosquito. So you think about a pencil, and do you think a pencil weighs as much as 10 bunches of bananas? You think a pencil weighs as much as 10 mosquitoes? Not really. A pencil probably weighs close to the same weight as 10 paper clips put together. So this would be our correct answer, 10 grams. Let's take a look at something involving height. All right, so we're told to find the height of a 1-story house, the average story house. So we have 4 meters. A meter is almost as big as a yard, so that's about 3 feet. You could think about it the distance from the floor to a door handle. 4 kilometers, you're talking about this is more than a mile or so. And then 4 millimeters. This is talking about if you took a few coins and put them and stacked them up, that's how tall this would be. So it doesn't make sense that there's going to be a 1-story house that's miles long or that's only a few coins tall. No, it's going to be most likely. This would put it around, you're talking about what, 11 feet maybe? So that sounds more closer to being right. So it is 4 meters. And notice that up here, reasonable is underlined because you're giving a reasonable estimate. This isn't just an off-the-wall estimate. It's something that actually could be real and makes sense, okay? So we have one last part to do with this, and that is multiplying to change units. Multiplying to change units, and that's when we're given something like this. We're told in this example too, change 532 milliliters into liters. So how do we go about doing that? Well, you're going to need to recreate the whole King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. Because this is what we're going to do. We're going to find milliliters. And milliliters, the M relates to this. And liters, remember liters is the unit. So we're trying to go from here to here. And we have to go 1, 2, 3 over, okay? So that's the same thing you're going to do. You're going to write down this number, 5, 3, 2, and we're going to move the decimal the same direction and the same number of times over as we had to go from the M to the unit. So the decimal for a whole number is always behind the number. Remember that. If you need to write that to the side, do it. Say always behind the number. And you're going to move over 1, 2, 3. So our new number is 0.532. So if I have 532 milliliters, I have 0.532 liters. That's what this refers to. It's real easy to convert back and forth on the metric system because all you have to do is move the decimal. Okay? Let's take a look at another example. So here we have change 1.7 grams into milligrams. So if we create our list, once again, we would say King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. And so I'm going from the units this time to the milligrams. So I have to move over 1, 2, 3. And notice I'm going from left to right. So I would put my 1.7 here, and I move it over 3 times to the right. 1, 2, 3. And this would give us 1,700. So if I have 1.7 grams, I have 1,700 milligrams. Remember, if you have any questions, write them down and be prepared to ask and discuss in class. See you then.